Hey everybody! I promised you hat doodads, and hat doodads you are going to get. I have 4 cool little baubles to make for you today, and they are the Pompom, traditional. We've got the Coil, kind of a fun and flirty thing. We've got the Shooting Star, one of my personal favorites, and the Pompom Ball. This one right here. We're going to do all 4 today, and you can use all of them on a hat, you can use one of them on a hat, you can use multiples of one on a hat, and these are also some really great ideas to kind of get your creative juices flowing, because I bet after you've watched this tutorial, you'll come up with some ideas of your own for nifty little hat baubles. So without further ado, let's go to the craft table! We're going to start with the pom-pom. This is a classic hat doodad and it's really easy to make. You can make a pom-pom out of any kind of yarn. I'm going to show you how to make this kind of a classic pom-pom using absolutely nothing but yarn and a pair of scissors. Now the best yarn I've found to use is this really super thick fluffy stuff. Now this is a ball of Bernay blanket, but I've seen other companies make the same thing and they call it chenille or baby chenille or baby blanket. It's this fuzzy, thick yarn. It's not your typical kind of yarn because it's almost like a bunch of little bits of fluff all wound together, but it's really great, warm, soft, fluffy, makes awesome pom-poms, and that's what I'm going to use today. So you're going to grab the yarn, hold it between your thumb and forefinger, make sure that the long bit wraps over the back of your hand, wrap it around your fingers once, just like that. And now you're going to do it 30 more times. 1, 2, 3. Once you've done 30 wraps, and I mean you can do more, obviously, you can do up to 40 if you want, just put your thumb on your yarn, grab your scissors, and snip it off. Just hold it there, like you make yourself a little fist if you have to. And just snip off another piece of yarn, say about a foot long. Now you're going to grab this yarn and you're going to shove it in between your 2 middle fingers, and you know where that is, so I'll just let you shove it in between your 2 middle fingers. And if you move the yarn back a little bit, you'll see it right there. So just bring it out between your 2 middle fingers. And then hold it between your 2 middle fingers and grab both the ends. This is why you want a slightly longer piece. Grab both the ends and hold it, and then just slip it off your fingers, just like that. Now you're going to knot this nice and tightly. You want to push down on that, and you want to make this knot as tight as you possibly can. And always tie it twice, because once is never enough. There you go. Now, you're going to hold those 2 long pieces out of the way. And with your scissors, you're going to work yourself around your pom-pom, picking up all the loops that you made. And you might want to go over some areas a couple times. And you're going to snip them all, and you're going to miss the odd ones. So you're going to want to go back, fish through it, make sure you've got all your loops. Alright, once you're pretty sure you've got all of your loops snipped, take care to keep these long pieces up and out of the way. Tuck them both into your hands if you have to. And now you're just going to go around and you're going to trim it neatly into a ball. And once you're all done, just give it a good shake, fluff it up a little bit with your fingers, get any of those last little bits that stick out of place, and there you go. Pom-poms! Ta-da! Now in order to attach your pom-pom to your hat, that's what these two long strings are for. You just pull one of these strings, or both of them, through the top of your hat, through two different little holes next to each other, knot them on the inside of the hat, weave in your ends, and you're done. The next little doodad we're going to make are these little coils, these little squiggly coils. I love these. I've put several of these on lots of hats that I've made. 1, 3, 5, a whole bunch of them. I just think they're hilarious. And they have a lot of nice weight to them. So as you're wearing them, they kind of swing back and forth. And they almost, you could make these really, really long and make yourself an entire wig. So this is really a cute little and handy little design to have. So that's the next one we're going to make. You can use any kind of yarn. I'm going to use this nice little red acrylic worsted weight here. And you need a crochet hook. Any size really will do, as long as it makes sense with the yarn size that you're using. You need a yarn needle for attaching it to the hat, and you need a pair of scissors. I'm going to make a squiggle that's about this length. So that is a pretty handsome length for a hat, I would think. So going to find your end. You're going to make a slip knot. And you're going to chain 25. 1, 2, 3, 24, 25. There's a length of 25. Into the second chain from the hook, so not the first, but the second chain from the hook, you're going to single crochet 4. So you put your hook through that second loop, wrap your yarn, bring up a loop. That's 1 single crochet. Into the same chain, 2, into the same chain, 3, into the same chain, 4. There you go. Identify the next chain along your chain length. So the very next chain, and single crochet 4 into that one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 into the next chain. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can already see that the coil is starting. You can give it a little twist to try and kind of keep it out of your way. But that's what's going to happen. Your yarn is going to coil all the way away from the working spot, and you're just going to continue putting 4 single crochets into each chain all the way along the chain length that you made until you get all the way back up to the top. It's a good idea to try and keep that chain that you're working into between your thumb and forefinger, and then move it to the next one and just sort of like twist your coil away as you're working. And if you get to a point where it looks like your coil is going every which way, don't worry, just keep spinning it in the same direction and it'll eventually coil up absolutely perfectly. So 4 single crochet in each of the chains up that length all the way back to the very first chain that you made. Okay, and once you've finished putting 4 single crochet in the last chain, you can give it a little tug, spin it into place. Isn't that cute? Now this is going to tighten up and loosen out and tighten up and loosen out, and it's just going to like swing. That is all you have to do to make that coil. Now to attach it, you can attach it any way you like. You can snip your string, you can just tie it into the back end of this. You can also attach it by picking up a loop at the top of your hat on the outside and slip stitching right through both. Snip your yarn, pull that little loop, or pull that rest of that end through your loop. I like to knot my two ends together, so now I've got two short ends, the end I started with, the end I'm finishing with. Give them both a nice tight knot. Remember to tie it twice, because once is never enough. And then take your hook, come through the same sort of stitch area where you tied your little tassel on, and pull both those ends back into the hat. And you can turn the hat inside out and weave the ends in later. And there. Now the nice thing about this little doodad is that the ends are both at the same place, so you can bury the ends of this little doodad into the hat or whatever else you're putting it on. So it gives you a nice, clean, finished edge. That's why I particularly love the coil as a little doodad. And doesn't that give this hat a nice little shot of color? Mm-hmm. Well, you know me and stars. I just love them. So I used my star tutorial, and there's a link for that in the comment box down below, and I made a star out of this pretty orange. It's sort of a similar orange in the hat, and I appliqued it onto my hat. Now, because I love to carry themes through things, I'm going to make a dangling star, sort of like a shooting star, to hang off the back of my hat. So I made two more stars using the same tutorial. I made one, snipped off the finishing yarn as a pretty short little edge, and I just weaved it into the back there. And I made another one identical to it using the same hook, same yarn, same number of stitches, and I cut a nice long length because I'm going to sew these two stars together. Now for this star I used a simple 3-ply yarn worsted weight acrylic. I used my 4.25 millimeter hook, so my favorite and the one I use for a lot of my projects. Got a pair of scissors, you need your yarn needle, and all you're going to do after you've made these two stars up is sew them together. Now I'm going to thread up my needle, and I'm going to place my stars back to back so I can tell that these are both the fronts, because the back side looks very different, as you can see. It's got kind of a, well, it doesn't look as neat and as finished as the front. So I'm going to put them backs together. So one front facing out, the other front facing out. And I'm just going to very simply sew around the edge of the entire star. You're going to take care to go through both edges of the stars, just like you would be sewing together anything else. And these stitches line up pretty nicely, so you can put one at the very top and then work your way down the other side. Alright, and once you're near the end, you're just going to make a little knot. So put in your last stitch, and you can make a little knot just by picking up a couple of stitches, and you only have to loop this once because this little knot is going to get woven into the very middle of your star. And you can tuck it all in, or you can just trim the excess. There. That is a thick two-sided star. And the way we attach this to a hat is like so. Grab your yarn. So I like to use the same color that I made the star out of. You're going to make a slip knot, and you're going to pick up a stitch in the top middle of the outside of your hat. So I'm going to pick up a whole stitch, and I'm going to join my yarn with a slip stitch. So just like that. And I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Going to pick up my star. I'm going to pick this very peak. Going to stick my hook right through the top of that. I'm going to try and get both loops of both sides on top of that, but if you don't worry about it. There's not a lot of weight on this star, so it's not going to get dragged. The weight of it isn't going to pull its shape out of proportion. I'm going to attach the star with a slip stitch to the little chain that I've made. So there you go, it's all attached to that chain. I'm going to chain 1, and then I'm going to slip stitch back down the 4 chains of that little chain length that I made. And this can be a little tricky, so just make sure you maneuver the hat and your yarn into a comfortable place. I'm going to slip stitch into 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to slip stitch back into that same stitch that I put the first slip stitch into to attach my yarn in the first place. Then I'm going to snip my yarn. I'm going to pull that back through the stitch, my last little chain, just to make a nice little loop. I'm going to knot my 2 ends together twice, because when you're making this kind of a knot, once is never enough. 1, 2, and then with my hook I'm going to come up through the inside of the hat. So I'm going to come out right where I attached it, grab both yarns and pull them into the hat. Then you can turn your hat inside out and you can weave in your ends using your handy dandy little yarn needle. And there you go! Now you've got a dangling star on your hat. Is that not the cutest? You know what? I might even put a little gemstone in the middle of that, just for a little extra glimmer. There! Now, some people don't like pom-poms because they're kind of fluffy. Sometimes they shed. You know, if you make them and you don't necessarily tie the centers too tight, the little pieces might come out after time, and they're tricky to wash for that same reason. So you might still want a ball, but you might want something a little neater. Now, just to sort of show you, this is one of the Chibi's hats, and I made a little tiny ball to go with the hat. Now, I used a very small hook to make this hat. I used a size 3mm and fairly thin yarn, and I made the pom-pom ball in the same with the same yarn and the same hook, just to sort of keep the consistency of side. So whatever hook you use to make your hat, you're going to want to use the same hook and probably the same yarn to make your little pom-pom ball. So you don't have to have it so that it dangles. You can actually make it to sit right on top, just like an old-fashioned pom-pom. But first I'm going to show you how to make the ball. This, like many of the little amigurumi that I have made, starts with a cinch circle. So you make your cinch circle. There we go. And into that circle, I'm going to single crochet 8. 1, 8. Cinch it shut. And you're going to continue single crocheting into the first single crochet that you made in the round 1. And I like to work over my tails. You don't have to, you can leave yours out if it gets complicated, but I like to work over mine just to weave them in as I go. You're going to single crochet 2 stitches in each stitch all the way around. So you're going to have a total of 16 when you're finished row 2. 1, 15, 16. All right. One more round of increase. We're going to go from 16 to 24. So you're going to put 2 single crochet into the next stitch and 1 single crochet into the next stitch. And you're going to repeat 2, 1, 2, 1 all the way around until you have 24. 24. All right, and once you've got 24 in a circle all the way around, and you can just count your stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way around, make sure you've got 24 or something similar. This is just a round ball, so it's not that important. Now you're going to put in 2 rows of straight single crochet. 1, 2, 3, 4. After you've done 2 rows, you want to assess your shape. So if you've got a nice round shape going and you're using a thick yarn, 2 rows might just be enough for your middle rows. If you're using a slightly thinner yarn like this one, you might want to put in 1 extra row just to get that sort of roundish ball shape. And you can go ahead and do that if you've used a slightly skinnier yarn, something like I have. But like I say, if you're using a nice thick yarn, if you made your hat out of a really woolly thick yarn, you're probably only going to need to have 2 rows of straight single crochet. So you have your first 3 rows of increasing, and then you have 2 rows of straight single crochet for a nice thick yarn, and maybe if you want an extra row of straight single crochet for a total of 3 straight rows if you're using a slightly skinnier yarn like I am here. But it's always good to stop and assess, because you know what, it's your little creation and everybody's a little different. And if you want more or less, it's entirely up to you. So I'm good with 3 straight rows of single crochet. Now we start to decrease. So we mirror what we did to increase. Now we want to decrease, and the mirror of our last row of increase is to single crochet 2 stitches together, single crochet into the next stitch, single crochet 2 stitches together, single crochet into the next stitch, single crochet 2 stitches together, single crochet into the next stitch. And you're going to repeat this pattern all the way around so that you've gone from 24 stitches back down to 16. Alright, and once you've completed that row, you're going to do 1 more row of decrease, which is a mirror of our second row of increase, which was 2 into each stitch. So now we're going to single crochet 2 together all the way around. So single crochet 2 together, single crochet 2 together, and you're going to do that all the way around until you've gone from 16 back down to 8. Alright, once you've done that row, you want to stuff your ball. Now you have a couple options here. You can use regular old fiberfill, and if you've got some of that lying around, great. If you don't, you can use ends. So if you've got like an extra ball, maybe you've got a bunch of little tiny scraps of yarn lying around and you don't really like the color, or it's a bit ratty because it's something you pulled out and wrapped up and pulled out and wrapped up all over again, then you know what, use that. You can chop it up into little bits, or you can just wrap tight little mitts of it around your 2 fingers and then stuff that into your hat. So nothing goes to waste, but I'm going to use stuffing just because I've got some handy here. Alright, and once you've got your ball all stuffed up, you're going to slip stitch around the post of each stitch of the previous row. So instead of actually picking up the stitch, so that's the stitch, you want to go around the post, which is that thing in between the stitches, like that. And you're just going to slip stitch around those posts all the way around. And that's going to cinch shut, in a way, your little hole at the top. And once you've gotten all the way through those posts, around back to the beginning, you're going to chain 1, and you're going to slip stitch across the top of that closure, like that, just so that you've got sort of the center of your ball hanging off the middle of your hook. Now this is where you can do one of 2 things. You can chain 4, like I did with the star, and slip stitch into the top of the hat, chain 1, and then slip stitch all the way back across into the top of the ball and then weave the end into the ball. Or, if you don't like it dangling, you can just attach it directly to the top of your hat. So what you're going to do is you're going to snip off a good length of yarn, maybe 6 to 8 inches. Pull it through your last stitch just to sort of finish it off, grab your yarn needle, thread up your yarn, grab the top of your hat, poke your needle through the top of middle of your hat, and you're just going to sew through the middle circle of the bottom of your pom-pom ball and through the bottom, or I should say through the top center of your hat. And you can sort of pick up any of the center stitches you want. And the whole idea is to just make sure it's on there nice and tight. And once you think it's on there nice and tight, pull the yarn into the bottom of the hat. So you're going to, you know what, I'm just going to do one more here. You're going to put your needle down through the middle top of your hat to bring it out into the bottom. And then from back here, so underneath on the inside of your hat, here you can just sort of knot your yarn. So I'm just going to make a simple knot using my yarn needle, just like that. And then you can just weave the rest of it into the hat. And there you go. A pom-pom ball. Isn't that adorable? And it acts like a pom-pom, but it's not as messy. And I know there's a lot of mummies out there who are really going to appreciate that. Alright, there you go. 4 cute little hat baubles, or doodads, or dangly bits, whatever you want to call them. These also make really cute barrettes, zipper pulls, keychains, or decorations for just about anything else you might want to hang something off of. And don't forget your Christmas tree. Alright everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share these videos with your friends, because we want to increase the family. I hope everybody has a really happy and crafty holiday, and we will see you again soon in the new year. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!